Good morning. I'm Ranger Dave and this is West Valley Rural. You know, you've all heard about this thing called entry-level drugs. And maybe some of you had to tell your children, son, don't do those entry-level drugs because you'll wind up in a place that you never planned. Well, I'm here to talk to you today about entry-level livestock. Yes, the lowly chicken. You know, many people move into a rural area and I'm going to be a farmer. And they get chickens. And then they wind up in a place that they never planned. Well, I'm going to kind of give you some ideas, and we're going to do some planning that some people never have done. And hopefully we just might avoid some of the problems. As you can see back in the back there, my son-in-law is, well, we're handling some of those entry-level birds this morning, and we might just visit with him on our way. So let's get started. Welcome to Ranger Dave's library. Now you might think we're talking about chickens. What are we doing in the library? Well, we're going to do something that most people fail to do when getting into chickens. And I hate to go Sesame Street on you, but you know who needs this. And well, if you're the one who needs it, your neighbors know who needs this. Plan. Plan. P-L-A-N. Plan. This is the one thing that people fail to do. They just go to the feed store, get chickens, and they're on their way. Well, then they wind up in a place that they never would have been, and it winds up in disaster. Okay, you need to plan. How many chickens do you need? What's your family size? Are these going to be just for eggs, or are these going to be for meat as well? Average chicken's going to lay, a mature chicken, an egg a day, if not more. Are you really going to be piling up the egg? I'll just sell to my neighbors. Well, okay, that's a good idea. Problem is, that's your neighbor's plan as well. He's planning on selling to you. Okay, so you cannot come up with it. You just keep it within your family as best as you can. Okay, what's the best breeds? Well, typically those are found at the feed store. Your Reds. I've used the New Hampshire Reds and Rhode Island Reds. They take the heat. Okay, but that's not always the best breed for everybody, especially in high predation areas, okay, where dogs are getting in and killing your chickens, because they tend to roost at a medium height just at that spot where the dogs are going to go after them. Okay, the one breed I've experimented with and have great success with and kind of came on them almost accidentally is the Blue Andalusian. It has become my favorite breed ever since we first got those. Why? They roost high, sometimes even in trees. I have never, ever lost a Blue Andalusian to predation, ever. I've lost other breeds, not a blue. So if you have a high predation issue, you might need to look those up and find somebody, or even find a hatchery. Now you also got to consider your hatcheries are in Texas. Okay, so if you're buying from a hatchery, you're going to have to get up early in the morning to pick those up at the post office. So make sure you have arrangements for that. Okay, now if you're free ranging, you may not have to buy any chickens at all. Sometimes we got our typical order, and then we wound up having a lot of surprises last spring. So right now we have extra chickens, and that's okay. They're going in the freezer. That's good. Now, in the long run, experimentation is good. Find out what works for you. I found out, it took a long time to find out what was going to work for me. What's my favorite breed? It changed. My new favorite, like I say, my new favorite breed are the blues, not the reds. Also, consider your shades. Consider the heat, the summer. There's all kinds of issues when you're taking into consideration breeds. Like certain breeds they just don't do well back here because of the heat. Now, and also remember, shade in the heat of this summer, shade and misters. Okay, especially after 95 degrees, start looking at those misters. All right, let's get on to some other things. All right, I'm going to show you the pens that I wish I knew about and built 30 years ago. A lot of people struggle with finding the right kind of pen, mobile or static, and pay a lot of money, have it blown over in a storm, all kinds of issues. Discovered this kind of pattern on on the internet a few years back, and have been using it with quite good success. We move our chicken pens around, and I'm going to show you why. Here I have one that I moved just this morning, and you can see it's nice clean dirt. But this is one I've left here specifically for a couple weeks. I want you to see how much accumulation you have. This is a problem if you have a static pen that doesn't move. All that buildup is not healthy, and in fact, birds, if you've ever seen them dusting, that's what they're getting, trying to get rid of chicken louse. This would be a problem if I had static, if this was a static pen, and those chickens could not get out. It's fraught for what's called chicken louse, and it's not contagious or anything. It's unhealthy for the birds, and you really don't want to. You can't enter a chicken in the fair or anything. If your kids have chicken louse, they're not going to the fair. It's just one of those things, and most people don't know about it till they have it. And you can try to get rid of it, but the best way to get rid of it is keep your pens moving. These things are essentially tractor panels, so essentially a square frame at the bottom, tractor panels, curved over top. And essentially, it can be just drug around. Monsoon season, I tie them to a brick anchor so they don't fly away, and away you go. Each of these costs about $150. Probably prices higher now with inflation. I did one larger one, three panels. It's a bear to move, but has the same principle. I do move it, but it's just heavier, and I found it's really unnecessary. 2-panel pen is plenty, and it's easier to move around the yard. That way you can move these things around the yard. You don't have to move them very far to have clean dirt. And your chickens do want a place to roost. And then that's also one of the things you see where people have predation. Your mid roosting hens, like your reds, will always roost on the inside. Now, if you have a predation problem, then you need to close your door at night. Now, the higher roosting hens will typically rest on top. You can see I've tarped these. Well, you know, the turkeys and the chickens that roost on top, they just tear them to shreds. But if you're in an area where you need shade, you're going to need to tarp it and replace that tarp. In my case, I just haven't replaced the tarps. It's not necessary. The chickens and the turkeys have plenty of shade to go find. All right, so essentially that should give you an idea. Do what works, and I will tell you, after 30 years of keeping chickens, this is the best pen I've ever dealt with, and I will go with no other pens. So do what works, find out what works. This works. Let's move on. Now, a word about eggs and nesting boxes. Now, if you have a static pen, it's pretty easy to find your eggs. You put a box in there, the hen are laying. They like boxes, but most of all they like a secluded spot, so they might surprise you, especially if they're free range. Okay, I found these eggs just a few days ago. Do not know how old some of them are. Saw the hen up here this morning, so the hen is coming back to that at a regular basis. But it's in a spot I never would have guessed. Now, you can discard these eggs because you don't take a chance, or you can float them and get rid of the floaters. The good eggs will go to the bottom of a bucket. You just fill a small bucket with water, and you can discard the floaters. But if you have a free range hen, they might surprise you. I have found those when you find a good spot where I like them. I like where they're laying, and it's easy to get to. those ceramic eggs, I found that those actually are helpful in this kind of situation. So if I got rid of all those eggs down there and didn't put anything down there, she might not go back to there. But this is a pretty easy place to harvest the eggs, easy place to look. And so what I might do is take out all those eggs and just leave one ceramic egg in there, and that hen will just continue to lay in that spot. Now, let's move on. There we go. So are we going to kill all the roosters today, or what are we going to do?
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
I think there's going to be 4 total.
Okay.
Alive.
Okay,
Except
so we're down to 4.
for one that's still destined for death.
Yes, so we have one rooster that seems to cheat death every time, and he's mean.
He did.
Yeah, he did. He did twice. Last week and this weekend.
Yeah.
Last weekend we couldn't find him. Nowhere to be found.
And this weekend he
he
escaped death.
He's not gonna
So
escape
what's the reason for we're skinning them rather than plucking them?
It's much easier.
Much easier, and you take a cleaning down to minutes rather than half a day.
Unless you have a defeathering machine.
Unless you have
Which
a
we do
defeathering
not.
machine, which we do not. And
They're very expensive.
yeah, they are very expensive. Some people can afford those, but if you...
Feel free to donate.
Yeah.
I won't complain.
No,
So-
I won't complain either.
So let me see that bird there.
Finished bird.
That's a finished bird.
Yeah.
Look again. Look at that. Look at that meat. That's good free range meat, and you can't find that in the store.
Yeah, this is a nice.
You gotta
rooster, too.
raise. Oh yeah, that's right. That was a spring bird.
Yeah.
We
so.
had one bird that we usually get our cackle hatchery box, and what happened? We had this one.
She hatched out like 14 chicks.
No, it was
I think
17.
It was 17. Yeah,
We had a
17.
surprise morning where I woke up to 17 chicks running around.
Which
We never even knew where she
sat on eggs in one of the goat pens.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of the
You
goat
just
pens
don't
that was
know.
going
You just
unused.
don't know where they're
So,
going to take up.
yeah. That was
when
a
you-
fun morning, though.
That was a fun morning. You imagine trying to chase down 17 chicks
baby
on open
chicks.
ground.
And by the way, I was 40 weeks and one
she-
day pregnant.
that's right, she was
and
40
I
weeks.
went into labor a day and a half later.
Yeah, she had to chase. She had to.
God, that
She had to chase down those
That
birds in full
sucked.
maternity mode.
And I was at work.
And he was at work. Yeah, I remember that morning. I had to go to
Three
work.
People,
Three
one of them
people.
pregnant, took us
One
like
was
45
pregnant,
minutes.
and 45 minutes chased down those 17 little chicks. That was fun. All right, I'm on. Thanks for visiting West Valley Rural. Now, just remember, if you don't plan for those chickens, you just might run afoul. And we'll see you next time.